All right, let's dive into a story from World War II that, honestly, sounds like something straight out of Hollywood. It's a story that boils down to one man, one standard-issue pistol, and a single shot so unbelievable, so impossible, it was dismissed for more than 50 years.
So just put yourself in this situation for a second. Your plane has just been blown out of the sky. You're dangling from a parachute, and an enemy fighter is banking around to finish you off. The only thing you have is your sidearm. I mean, seriously, could you shoot down a fighter plane with a pistol? Sounds like a crazy action movie, right? Well, for one American pilot, it was very, very real.
So let's set the scene. The date is March 31st, 1943. We're high over the jungles of Burma. Our guy, Second Lieutenant Owen Baggett, is the 22-year-old co-pilot of a B-44 Liberator bomber. And his plane is getting absolutely ripped to shreds by 13 Japanese Oscar fighters. The whole thing is on fire, oxygen tanks are exploding, the intercom's dead. I mean, things could not possibly be worse.
Baggett manages to give the signal to bail out. He jumps, and just seconds later, his B-24 disintegrates in a massive fireball. He sees 4 other chutes open, but the nightmare is just getting started. The Japanese pilots then do something truly horrifying. They start strafing the crewmen as they hang helplessly in their parachutes. 2 of Baggett's crew are killed right there in the air. Baggett himself gets hit, a bullet grazing him. His only play? Go limp, play dead, and just hope they leave him alone.
But one of the pilots isn't buying it. He breaks off from the others and starts circling Baggett, slowing his plane way down, right to the edge of stalling out. And then, the pilot does something that changes everything. He slides his cockpit canopy open to get a better look, to make absolutely sure this American pilot is dead.
And he gets close, shockingly close. The fighter is just hanging there in the air, nose up, maybe only 20 feet away from him. It's so close you could probably see the pilot's face. And in that moment of pure terror, Baggett sees a flicker of an opportunity.
While he was playing dead, Baggett's hand had been resting on his sidearm, the legendary Colt M1911. He knows this is it, his one and only chance. He raises that heavy .45 and takes aim right at the pilot in the open cockpit.
He doesn't even think about it. He just squeezes the trigger. 4 shots crack out in the sky, boom, 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 boom. The Japanese pilot, who just a second ago was the hunter, is suddenly staring down the barrel of a pistol. And the result? It's just immediate. It's stunning. The K-43 fighter's nose drops, it flips over into a spin, and just plummets straight down into the jungle below. He did it. He actually did the impossible. But believe it or not, his ordeal was just getting started.
You know, surviving that fall and that insane dogfight was one thing. Now Baggett had to survive on the ground. He landed in a rice paddy, was immediately captured by local militia, and then handed over to the Japanese.
For the next 917 days, Owen Baggett was a prisoner of war. Now, to put that into perspective, that's not just a number. That's 2.5 years of brutality, starvation, and disease.
And the physical toll was just devastating. When he was shot down, Baggett was a healthy 180-pound guy. By the end of his captivity, he was a skeletal 90 pounds. He literally wasted away to half his former self.
His life just became this day-in, day-out fight to just stay alive. He was beaten during interrogations, moved between these awful camps in Rangoon and Singapore, and was constantly battling diseases like dysentery, scurvy, and beriberi, all while being forced into brutal labor.
So here's where the story gets even crazier. Even in the middle of a POW camp, this incredible secret starts to bubble to the surface. He was about to get confirmation that what he did actually happened. Confirmation that would then be tragically lost. Okay, this is one of the strangest parts of the whole story. A Japanese major general, the commander of all the POWs in Burma, pulls Baggett into his office. But instead of interrogating him, he offers him a blade to commit ritual suicide, or harikiri. And why? Well, the general said it was a sign of respect for an enemy who had shown unbelievable courage. They knew, the Japanese knew exactly what he had done.
A while later, in another camp in Singapore, Baggett meets another American prisoner, a guy named Colonel Harry Melton. And this guy, Colonel Melton, well, he just happened to hold the key to the whole thing, a much more detailed piece of the puzzle.
What Melton told him was just mind-blowing. During his own interrogation, a Japanese colonel had told him the story of that downed K-43 pilot. The colonel confirmed they found the pilot's body a couple 100 yards from the wreck, and the cause of death? It wasn't the crash. It was a single .45 caliber bullet wound to the head. This meant Boggett hadn't just hit the plane, he made a 1 in a million shot and killed the pilot before the plane even hit the ground.
Colonel Melton swore to Boggett that the second they were free, he would file an official report to corroborate the story. But in a heartbreaking twist of fate, that never happened. Melton was put on an unmarked transport ship, which, in a terrible bit of irony, was torpedoed and sunk by an American submarine. And with Colonel Melton's death, the only real proof, the only other person who knew the details, vanished beneath the waves.
So the war ends, Baggett is free, but now he's got this incredible, unbelievable story and zero proof. It basically became a legend, a rumor, trapped for decades in this fog of doubt because, well, who could possibly believe it?
When he was liberated, Boggett told his story to intelligence officers during his debriefing. And, they listened. But without a single witness or any evidence, they were understandably skeptical. They filed the report, but it was basically buried. You can just imagine, right? For years, he tells people what happened, and they just kind of nod and smile. Sure you did, buddy. It just sounded too wild to be true.
And the wait for anyone to take him seriously was a long one. Baggett went on to serve a full 29-year career, retiring as a colonel in 1973. But it wasn't until 1996, a staggering 53 years after it happened, that Air Force magazine published a deep dive investigation. They looked at everything, and their conclusion was that his account was entirely credible. And so finally, at 76 years old, his story was out there, and people believed him.
And when you break it down, you totally get why nobody believed it for so long. The odds were just astronomical. Think about it. For this to happen, a fighter pilot had to decide to get within pistol range. He had to open his canopy, he had to slow his plane to the edge of a stall. Boggett had to be conscious even after being wounded. He had to fire accurately while falling through the air, and this all had to happen in a window of maybe 4 seconds. But as this story proves, astronomical doesn't mean impossible.
And that really makes you think, doesn't it? Owen Bigot's story came so close to being lost forever, only saved because he just kept telling it. It makes you wonder, how many other incredible stories of courage and survival are just gone? Their heroes forgotten and their deeds totally unrecorded, lost to time.